Okay, guys, here's what we have going on. Somehow, and I don't know how, but somehow I just did the game session and it didn't work. I didn't get the audio for the session that I just played, so I am going to do a quick narration over top of this with the action sped up. So apologies, you don't get to hear me think out loud and be confused all the way through, but hopefully I can kind of summarize things reasonably well. When we last left our heroes, we were in a large lounge area. We had just escaped a corridor with a bunch of zombies in it and that kind of thing, and we were in this large lounge where we had a map of the site, and I started off by doing a gather information to see what we could figure out, see whether or not I would be able to figure out kind of what should be happening. What we could learn from this situation. So we did a gather information just to see if we had, got good momentum. Both Arnav and Fidget helping me out with that. Got a strong hit. Kind of moved along with just the idea that we had a pretty good picture of where everything was at. And based on the map and the area around here, I decided that it would make sense to explore the waypoint because, again, we're doing an expedition through this area. And I thought exploring the waypoint would make the most sense in terms of seeing what we could find, because I was on the one hand want to move through, want to find a good way through the station, but in another very real way, I did not roll well trying to take care of Esana. She still has a projectile still lodged in her body. I wanted to see if there was some place we could find that would maybe find a med bay or something like that to take care of her. Eventually, I stopped messing around here with the oracles, and I actually go back to the move where I'm going to see what I can find. I'm rolling up a few things here about a collapsed obstacle that might be in my way, that kind of thing. So I just kind of kept that handy for when I rolled my next thing of the exploring a waypoint. Again, I'm using Arnav to kind of help me out with this, and again, I get a strong hit on the explore waypoint, which gives me two choices, both of which are good, and I have to kind of decide between them. The first one's find an opportunity, which gives us a +2 momentum, and we find something really useful. Or I can gain progress and actually move along the expedition itself by finding a really good route forward. The choice is basically there's a really good way you can move along out of here, or you can take the opportunity. I chose to envision this as you found a really good place where you could stop, but you're going to lose some time because you have to stop and take care of Asana. I went with that option, so the momentum went up to a 9 as we find this clinic that had been barricaded with kind of a collapsed barrier because the automatic doors really aren't helpful to that. And we went into this clinic that had been kind of barricaded, although there's nobody there now, and then took some time to do another, having changed our situation, do another heal check to see if we could take care of Asana while Arnav sort of kept watch. The heal roll went okay. I got a mixed success, and I decided to go with, give myself the full benefits of that in terms of taking care of Asana, but with a 2-point momentum hit, which is ironically the 2 points that I just got from finding the place. That's fine. So it went up by 2, went back down by 2, and Asana is sort of there and taking care of things. So we were sort of taking care of Asana, but then she sort of passed out, and we needed to kind of then deal with, spending the time that the loss of momentum would indicate. So we kind of almost sort of camped out inside of the clinic for a bit while we were doing this and waiting for her to sort of come to. So then I talk, sort of a scene with the three of us sort of sitting around talking, Earl foraging for supplies by going and raiding a couple of vending machines out in the main lounge, reminding myself as I did this that, hey, there may be zombies still around here because they were in that corridor that we blocked, that we closed the door to. Are they still around? That kind of thing. So once I was out in the lounge, I decided that I would check to see what the Oracle thought about there still being zombies around. Oracle thought there was. I said, because I thought it was very likely. And I asked, are they trying to get in? And the Oracle said no, which I thought was kind of interesting. So where did the zombies go? Did a couple more Oracle hits here, and I got action and theme of assault tool, which seemed kind of strange to me. I hit a few other things, wanted to ask what the various focus was, and I got art. And that led me to realize that the zombies had gone the other way down the corridor and gone back towards that weird art installation, sort of the orrery thing that was fading in and out of, dimensionally fading in and out, very strange. And envisioned a scene where we, like, I don't know where they went, and then we cut to the scene where they're at there, and they're all kind of surrounding this thing, and one of them moves up kind of to the edge of the structure, and their head's kind of twitching and all this other kind of stuff. And one of them crawls up and inserts its arm into this dead space where the pieces that should collide don't, and when they insert their arm into this space, like on a time lapse growth kind of thing, the circuitry bursts up, and kind of grows really quickly down out of the neck and down the arm and into this dead space that the arm has been shoved down into. And as this is happening and the music is building and that kind of thing, we cut back to Esana, sort of jerking herself awake on the gurney, waking back up, showing some time has passed, that kind of thing. And the implication seemed to be that she's waking up from seeing this, but she doesn't see it. She doesn't say anything about it, but that's just the cut, right? So then Asana kind of gets herself up, kind of proves that she can walk, and we proceed to move. Let's not look a gift horse in the mouth. We're going to head down a different corridor that should take us back down to the main shaft, and then from there move further into the station. So a couple of rolls there to make that happen. With the undertaking the expeditions, pretty much throughout this entire session, I'm leaning on Arnav a little bit. He's a scout, so he's giving me bonuses throughout all of this thing to kind of lead the way as we're moving with our, moving alertly through this. We get a weak hit on this undertake the expedition and run into an area where we're going from where we're at through kind of a storage area that's kind of a cramped storage area into a new access corridor that's been blocked and barricaded, and we lose more momentum here again. Basically breaking our way down through this corridor, through the barricade. Asana can't help, so it's pretty much me and Fidget, while Arnav sort of watches our backs and stands guard and basically pulls sentry duty while we're dealing with the complications of just trying to get through this area quickly, or at least as efficiently and quietly as we can, to getting closer to the center of the station, whereas we're really where we need to be. Once we got through that area, rolled up what the next area was going to be. It looked like living quarters, some sort of mess hall or big dining area that we were moving into in the main section of the station, the main central section of the station. From there, we decided to, I think we're exploring the waypoint once we got into this area to get an idea of what was going on. And I think I also rolled on the Oracle to pull up I think I pulled up like a feature just to have an idea of what the background sort of color for the area was going to be after I explored the waypoint. The Explorer waypoint went pretty well. That moved our momentum back up. And the feature I got was a recorded message revealing helpful aspects of the site, which was great. I love that because while it makes perfect sense that there would be some sort of alert recording playing or something like that, it hadn't occurred to me. And I love that, the Oracle is, after a lot of brainstorming and that sort of thing, Sean had something there that would make sense, and it prompted me. So there was a recording playing, and the reason it was helpful is because it was showing like, okay, the station's been breached, there's been a catastrophic event, everybody go to your secure muster areas and stay there. So and then they listed all of them, so we knew exactly where everybody had gone. People are still in the station, but they're all holed up, right? So we know where not to go, and from there we knew how to thread our way using the map to kind of get to where we needed to go, which was like a research area with like an isolation chamber and that sort of thing. So that was a really nice way that the Oracle provided some color that was exactly tone perfect for what we needed, but not something that would have occurred to me right as I was sort of stuck up in the moment. We rolled another undertake the expedition, another strong hit. Not great rolls throughout this entire session. I was rolling pretty middling, but luckily the challenge dice in many cases were also bad. So that kind of balanced out. That moved our progress through the station all the way up to a 10. I went straight to the rolling on the research, the derelict zone for the research. I tried to roll a couple of locations in here just randomly, but none of them were really coming up in a way that made sense. So I just picked the isolation or containment unit, envisioning an area that kind of looked like that space on the helicarrier in the first Avengers movie that was meant to contain the Hulk. So kind of a secure area within another secure area inside, and inside that second secure area, like an area that can only be accessed by sort of remote Waldos that were meant to access the canisters that held the wisps, which were kind of laid out or locked in there. I tried to conclude the trip through, exploring this area, and I got a weak hit, which still ended up paying off a little bit like in terms of discoveries, it ended up paying out like a dangerous trip because of my explorer move, which was nice, got me a couple of XP. Doing the discovery to move through the area, but also kind of a mixed hit. So I indicated that not all things were perfect here as we were concluding our journey through there. So checked out, hit the Oracle again, looked at the peril. The peril was a disturbing outcome from a failed experiment. So from that, kind of projected that when we looked in there where these canisters were all at least a couple of the canisters were completely broken. Whatever wisp had been contained within them were gone, killed, destroyed, whatever you want to think. And then a couple of the other canisters damaged, or whether or not the canisters were damaged, but the wisps themselves were quite weak. So obviously they'd been conducting some experiments and didn't seem, it was more of a test to destruction kind of situation. So while we may be able to get the wisps back to K, I'm not going to be able to get all of them back to K just because of this. So I'll be bringing back the wisps hopefully, but also bringing back bad news. So that's where we are right there, at which point in time it's time to call Zeb, get him to the bigger hangar in the center part of the station, and he's going to be rolling his integrity for his quote-unquote piloting check, and which I was just rolling supply for. Ended up with the worst possible roll I could get, but still a weak hit. We took that as supply just because we needed to use some of the propulsion gases that we use for the attitudinal jets, and also Zeb shooting some zombies along the surface of the ship so that they weren't any coming in close to the hangar, coming into the hangar, or anything like that. Then we needed to move with speed up through our area of the station up to that hangar. We got a strong hit coming up to there, and we're able to rendezvous with Zeb, pile into the ship, and get the hell out of there, which was pretty nice to be able to do that. I ticked up the check boxes for rescuing the wisps, as well as getting Arnav back to Lagrange Station as we move away from this. At this point in time, we don't need to do like undertake the expedition. I didn't want to do another one of those, but we don't need to because we have a clear path from, we have a clear known route that's going to take us from Meridian to Lagrange by way of Glimmer. So I was just rolling one move to move through that section, to move through that route and take us right to Lagrange with sort of a redirection right at the Glimmer station. The only real question there is, do you need to roll one move to go from Meridian over to Glimmer of Hope, and then another move, another roll to get from Glimmer of Hope over to Lagrange? I decided to do it just as one big roll, since it's just really just one sort of direction shift right in there in the midst of the thing. So it's just one set of course move. I think I did it as two when I was going from Lagrange back over to Meridian, but in this case I just wanted to speed things up and did it as one set of course move, which feels like very much a GM thing that I would do if I was GMing for a bunch of other players. I would just like, I don't need another roll right now, let's just do one, see how it goes. So, time to set a course. Now, unfortunately on this one, the set of course ended up being a weak hit. The weak hit thing for set of course is that I decided to go with, I had to choose either suffering some sort of suffer move or facing a complication at the destination. And because I'm bringing Arnav back to Lagrange where he doesn't want to go, the complication at the destination seemed like it made the most sense. So the way I saw this happening was that we were going to take off, and Arnav was right there, and we had like even an opportunity to kind of do to build up our relationship on the trip, on the first leg of the journey, and then he's a couple hours go by and we're coming out at Glimmer ultimately, and I've sort of prepped Zeb quietly in private that we're just going to immediately redirect and move on to Lagrange before Scout has a chance to figure out what's going on. So, but in the meantime, I did do a roll because I did one of the build your relationship kind of moves is relying on them in a harsh situation, in a dangerous situation. And I absolutely did with Arnav. He was helping out with like 80% of my rolls in this session and part of the previous session. So he was part of our success more often than not in most of this. So just kind of a bonding moment there. Rolled, got a strong hit, and took a bonus to, or took 2 ticks onto our Bonds Legacy track with building up this thing, which I wanted to do to kind of show the positivity of our relationship before I shot it in the foot when he realizes what's going on as we arrive in the system in Glimmer of Hope, because he's up in the he walks up in there while we're there and sees that we're pivoting away from the planet just as we go back into drift, and he realizes at that point what's going on, where we're probably headed, and that leads into a big fight that we also have to resolve. So I was a little scared about this because after once the argument started, the first thing I did was testing the relationship with Arnav, and luckily got a strong hit on testing the relationship. We were able to survive this argument without like just cutting all ties. Situation's not great still, because he can't explain everything. He can't explain. We don't understand what's going on. Earl is still angry with him about obviously knowing things about some of what's happened with us, with me and Zeb in the past, but not telling us. I looked up a bunch of oracles to try to figure out what was going on with Arnav and what the truth might be, because honestly, I still haven't figured out exactly all the background story here. Nothing immediately leapt out at me as like, oh, that's finally helped me explain it. So I did finally do a compel on Arnav after resolving our conflict here and testing the relationship. I then did a compel with Arnav to get him to explain at least some of what the hell was going on. And I got a mixed success on this. I had already burned my momentum on a previous roll, so I had to just accept what was happening with the compel, which was a weak hit, and the weak hit was, he'll accede to our what we want here, but he's got a condition as well. So he yells at Fidget, and she leaves the room because he doesn't want anybody from First Compact there. And then the last scene that we have with Zeb and Earl is Arnav saying like, all right, I'll go along with this, but I've got something that you need to do for me first. And Earl says, all right, what is it? And that's the last thing that we see. So that is wrapping up kind of what the last thing that we see there is those two agreeing to something. We're already in drift on the way to Lagrange, so something is going to happen there. We don't know exactly what. And I need to stare at the ceiling and think about it for a couple of days to figure out what's going on as we try to get closer to some sort of conclusion of all these various story arcs that are going on here. Nothing is immediately presenting itself, so my brain needs to kind of turn this stuff over a little bit. And hopefully, waking up bleary in the early morning, I will suddenly have the answer present itself to me. But in the meantime, that's it. All right, so this has been a bit of an ugly one. Sorry for this weird kind of lame summary, but it's what we have right now. And thanks everybody for sticking with me through this and all the other sessions. Hopefully next time I'll actually have the audio in some sort of intact form. Thanks very much.